Hello. Now, I personally want to speak out against the new super low emission zone of London. I think, well, it clearly is a tax on the poor, and it's clearly as a result of London's current mayor overspending the budget and desperately trying to find some increased revenue. Now, I don't think there's any driver in the city who would volunteer to pay for more fuel than they absolutely have to. So as a result, when they can afford to, they will buy a newer, more economical vehicle. Now, from a commercial side, there aren't really any viable electric or hybrid alternatives. Not either big enough or not with a long enough range for when they have to do out-of-town journeys, etc. Obviously, those that can afford a new car won't be affected, and those that can't afford a new car will have to spend more money that they don't have in order to pay this additional charge. I mean, I think it's fairly common knowledge that the most polluting points of any vehicle's life are its production and its destruction. Now, if you've got a Land Rover that lasts for 30 years, that's preferable to, say, a Toyota Prius that after 5 years its batteries are shot, costs over £3,000 to replace, therefore writing off the car, which requires for all the metal involved in the vehicle to be recycled, which gives off huge emissions, for then them to be reformed into another car, again more emissions than a car ever produces through its tailpipe, forgetting the shipping of the vehicle to get it from China or wherever else it's produced these days over to Europe. I mean, it's madness. I mean, I personally, as well as having a van and a car, I've got a little Honda Innova 125 scooter. That Honda Quote at 30 miles an hour will do nearly 200 miles per gallon. Yet, being an '06, apparently it's far too polluting to last in the city once they bring in these new changes. I think you'd struggle to find a vehicle that does 200 miles per gallon, and even if the bits that do come out the pipe are, slightly more toxic than they would be if it was built post 2007, the amount of them that come out is negligible next to pretty much every other vehicle in town. I also don't think it makes sense that the charge is paid per vehicle. I have my scooter, I have my work van, and I have a car. Now, if I were to take my scooter to pick up the work van from the yard, use the van for a job, and then take the car to pick up my child from school, although I'm only driving one vehicle at a time and for very short periods of time and short distances, I'd be paying £60 in order to change vehicles throughout the day. Obviously, they're not all running at once. Obviously, they're not all polluting the atmosphere. So, how on earth do people like myself or like you, who needs to come into the city, unfortunately can't afford to buy a new car, don't want to get yourself strapped into a lease on a vehicle that is just throwing money down the toilet, what do we do? People need to speak up. This guy, well, like I say, it's clearly for revenue, but the guy clearly hasn't done it on an environmental level, it's on a financial level. So cut the bullshit. Don't try and play us for fools. Admit it that you've overspent the money, you need to find some more from somewhere else. And, people won't like it, but at least you're being honest. To try and put it down to an environmental perspective, it just doesn't wash. The current congestion charge zone does not make sense. If you need to get from, say, Fulham to Islington, if you go through the zone, you have hundreds of route options. You can vary everywhere. But if you don't want to pay that £11.50, if you want to try and drive there avoiding the congestion charge, you need to go around it, which gives you a couple of route options, which are generally absolutely snarled up. They're a longer distance than you'd otherwise have to drive. So produces more emissions in people going further, slower, sat in traffic. don't put it down to an environmental perspective. It's not the case. Anyway, I'm going to be doing more videos on more of my opinions on what I feel is wrong with current policies and current proposals. Hopefully you guys will like it. Maybe you'll follow. Any ideas of subjects you want me to comment on, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Cheers for watching. Bye bye.